Press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Well, dear students, in our previous class, we have understood how first law of thermodynamics can be used to understand various thermodynamic processes, and also about the indicator diagram which can be used to calculate the work done in a thermodynamic process. Now we are in a position to understand more about heat engines. So therefore, now we are entering into the application part of thermodynamics. What is a heat engine? Which is already known to you. Heat engine is a device which converts heat energy into useful mechanical work. It's a device which converts amount of heat energy supplied into work. Okay. A heat engine essentially requires three things. One is hot reservoir. Hot reservoir. Reservoir. This is also called source. Source. So this is the constant supplier of heat energy. It is at constant high temperature T1. It is at certain constant high temperature T1. And we need to have a working substance. Okay. We need to have a working substance. Working substance may be gas or liquid. And then we must need to have a cold reservoir. Cold reservoir which is at a constant low temperature T2. This is also called sink. Generally it is called sink. It is at a constant low temperature T2. See, these are the main requisites of a heat engine. Let us understand how it works. The working substance absorbs certain quantity of heat Q1 from the source. Working substance, which may be in the form of a gas or a liquid, absorbs certain quantity of heat Q1 from the source or hot reservoir, which is at a constant high temperature T1. Then work is done by the gas. See, therefore work is done by the gas, and it rejects part of heat to the cold reservoir, which is at a constant low temperature T2. It rejects certain quantity of heat Q2 to the surroundings. I call it as sink, okay, which is at constant low temperature. So therefore, the work done by the gas is given by W is equal to Q1 minus Q2. So this is the net work done by the gas. So therefore, we have an arrangement wherein there is a hot reservoir, a cold reservoir, and a working substance. The working substance absorbs certain quantity of heat Q1 from the source, and it rejects part of heat Q2 to the sink. The remaining heat is converted into useful work given by W is equal to Q1 minus Q2. The performance of heat engine is being characterized by a quantity called efficiency. Efficiency of heat engine is given by amount of work done to the heat supplied. The ratio of amount of work done. When you take the ratio of amount of work done to heat supplied, it is always a constant, and that is what we call it as efficiency, and this is given by W divided by Q1. W is Q1 minus Q2 divided by Q1. When you divide this by Q1, you are going to get efficiency becomes equal to 1 minus Q2 by Q1. This is how we can determine efficiency of a given heat engine. If this ratio becomes equal to 0, then the efficiency becomes 100%. If Q1 is infinity or if Q2 is 0, then this ratio will be 0. See, it is not possible. So therefore, in general, efficiency of any heat engine will never be 100%. So there are different types of heat engines: internal combustion engine, external combustion engine. Like, say, in external combustion engine, working substance is a steam, so which is ultimately going to um, which is ultimately going to does some work during the cycle of operation. Whereas in internal combustion engine, we have a fuel, either it may be a petrol or a diesel. So after combustion, it does some work. The work is appears in the form of motion of a crankshaft and then the related mechanical devices, which causes the work done. See, there it is being designed in such a way that there will be a mechanical advantage. See, that way properly it has been designed. See, that you will understand when you go to automobile engineering or mechanical engineering in detail, right? See, at this stage, so please understand, this is the basic principle behind any heat engine. Okay. So knowing of all this, so let us move on to another important device called refrigerator. Refrigerator. Refrigerator is just a reverse of heat engine. Okay. So in the refrigerator, we have we have hot reservoir, as usual, hot reservoir, or this is source, which is at constant high temperature T1, and we have working substance, which may be if a refrigerant liquids like freons, and we have cold reservoir, or this is sink, which is a temperature T2. So in refrigerator, the refrigerant liquid absorbs Q2 amount of heat from the sink, and it rejects Q1 amount of heat to the source when work is done onto the refrigerant liquid by some mechanical device, suitable mechanical device. Work is done onto the system in order to transfer heat from body at low temperature to body at high temperature. Here external work has to be done. So using a compressor, we are doing some external work in transferring the heat from cold reservoir to hot reservoir. See, that's why I told you refrigerator is a reverse of heat engine. See here, certain portion of space has to be cooled. See, therefore, from that region, heat is being extracted. Heat is being extracted by doing work on the refrigerant liquid. Externally, you are doing some work using a compressor so that you can extract heat from the space to be cooled. right? Similarly, in a heat pump, if some region has to be heated, heat is being pumped into the region so that it got warmed. It is also similar to a refrigerator. See, heat pump is being used in cold countries, whereas refrigerator is used in the cold storages. Refrigerator technique is being applied in the cold storages. Okay, see, both are performs in the same manner. In heat pump, heat is pumped to the system, heat is being added to the system. In a refrigerator, heat is being extracted from the system. Have you got it? And here the refrigerator is being characterized by a physical quantity called coefficient of performance. Coefficient of performance. This coefficient of performance of a refrigerator is indicated by beta. Beta is given by amount of heat extracted from the sink, amount of heat absorbed or extracted from the sink divided by work done onto the refrigerant liquid. Okay. So therefore beta here is equal to Q2 divided by Q1 minus Q2. The value of beta gradually increases. Initially it will be low, gradually increases. It will be usually for domestic refrigerators value will be less than 10. Okay, range from 6 to 8 or 6 to 9. Remember, in case of heat engine, with the usage of engine, efficiency decreases gradually because of energy loss. In case of refrigerator, with the usage, there will be a little improvement in the coefficient of performance. Okay, so that way they are slightly differ from each other. Have you got it? So this is about the important aspect of the devices which are being based on thermodynamics. So now let us move on to second law of thermodynamics. Second law of thermodynamics. See, here there are two different statements which are frequently being used as a thermodynamics, law of thermodynamics, second law of thermodynamics. The first one is Kelvin's Planck statement. Kelvin Planck's statement. This is first one. And the second one is Clausius statement. Kelvin Planck statement, and second one is Clausius statement. See, in Kelvin Planck statement, they say that no process is possible whose sole result is absorption of heat from hot reservoir and complete conversion of heat into mechanical work. So the first statement is no process is possible whose sole result is absorption of heat from hot reservoir and complete conversion of heat into work. No process is possible whose sole result is absorption of heat from hot reservoir and complete conversion of heat to work. Okay, that is the first statement. Okay, this tells you that so you cannot completely convert heat absorbed 100% into work. So there will be always certain loss of energy in some way. Some part of energy is utilized for some other purpose. So there can't be 100% of transfer of heat energy into useful mechanical work. And in the second statement, Clausius says that no process is possible. No process is possible whose sole result is transfer of heat from cold reservoir to cold reservoir to hot reservoir. Transfer of heat from cold reservoir to hot reservoir. Have you got my point? So you cannot transfer heat from cold body to hot body unless you won't does some work externally. You cannot transfer heat from body at lower temperature to higher temperature. See, therefore, it is impossible to do that. See, that's what this statement says. See, there is another way of putting the same statement. It is impossible for um, self-acting machine unaided by an external agency to continuously transfer from heat from body at lower temperature to body at higher temperature. Even there is a self-acting machine. If you imagine there is a self-acting machine, there is no self-acting machine actually. Even if there is a self-acting machine, he says that it's impossible by self-acting machine unaided by any external agency to transfer heat continuously from body at a lower temperature to body at a higher temperature. So that is not possible unless you won't do some work, unless you won't put some external work onto the system. There is no possibility of transferring heat from body at lower temperature to body at higher temperature. See, there's another way of putting the same statement. It is impossible to cool the substance below coldest of its surroundings. It is impossible to cool the substance below coldest of its surroundings without doing external work, right? Without doing external work, you cannot cool the body. See, therefore, the second law of thermodynamics is also called as law of working of nature. It tells you the boundary. It gives you the boundary where the laws will fail, where our assumptions will fail. Have you got my point? See, knowing of all this, let us understand more about reversible process, reversible and irreversible process. Reversible process. The process which can be traversed in the reverse direction with the same ease such that the system and surroundings passes through same intermediate stages as in the direct process is called reversible process. The process which can be traversed in a reverse direction with the same ease such that the system and its surroundings passes through same intermediate stages as in the direct process. So you are taking a system from passing through different stages in direct process. If you can brought back the system to the initial configuration so that they should come through the same intermediate stages and finally acquires the original configuration. If that is possible, then we call that process as a reversible process. Reversible processes are usually slow process. They are all quasi-static process. I told you earlier, in case of quasi-static, there is a infinitesimal change in the pressure, volume or temperature of the system. So that um, the system will be in thermal equilibrium or thermodynamic equilibrium with the surroundings. See, therefore, slow expansion or slow compression, slow isothermal expansion or slow isothermal compression of a gas enclosed in a cylinder fitted with a smooth frictionless piston with a perfectly conducting walls and perfectly conducting base is an example for reversible process. But you know that 98% of processes that we come across are irreversible, irreversible, irreversible processes. Free expansion of a gas, sudden compression and sudden expansion of a gas, uh, so they are all examples for irreversible process. See, wherever there is a irreversible process, there will be a energy loss. So this energy loss is mainly due to certain dissipative forces, for example, frictional force, viscous force. So when there is a non-conservative force is operating on the system, naturally there will be a loss of energy and you cannot bring the system with the same configuration back to its original state with the same configuration, right? See, that's why most of the processes in nature are irreversible. Have you followed? Now let us consider one such a reversible process because we come across most of the irreversible processes in our day-to-day life. Most of the processes. Let us take one ideal situation of a reversible process. And this reversible processes is being realized in so-called Carnot engine. Carnot's engine. Let us understand more about Carnot engine and Carnot cycle. Sadi Carnot gave a model, an ideal model for a heat engine, and it is called as Carnot's engine. Okay. It is the model for or mathematical model for all heat engines, and only this engine ideal model is having more efficiency compared to any other engines which are realized in practice. Now let us consider how it works. What are the basic ingredients of Carnot's engine? What are the basic needs of Carnot's engine? See, Carnot's engine consisting of hot reservoir, hot reservoir as usual. This is also called source, which is at constant high temperature T1, and we have insulating stand. We have insulating stand, insulating stand, which is our insulating stand. It's a perfect insulator, and then we have a sink or cold reservoir, which is also called sink. It is at constant low temperature T2. Then again we have insulating stand. Insulating stand. First, let us take a cylinder which fitted with a non-conducting wall but conducting base, and then there is a smooth movable non-conducting piston. See, we have a cylinder with a perfectly non-conducting walls but conducting base. The base is perfectly conducting, remember, and piston is non-conducting but it can move smoothly without any friction. Let us take 1 mole of gas enclosed in this cylinder. 1 mole of gas, ideal gas, is the working substance. So that's why I told you it is an ideal heat engine. He has taken 1 mole of ideal gas, or generally ideal gas, maybe m mu moles, whatever it may be. He has taken ideal gas inside the cylinder. Now first, so let us understand how it works. And the performance is indicated by indicator diagram or PV diagram. So let the system has pressure P1, volume V1 and temperature T1. Okay. The system has a configuration: pressure P1, volume V1 and temperature T1. It is kept on a hot reservoir which is at a constant high temperature T1. This gas absorbs Q1 quantity of heat. It absorbs Q1 quantity of heat from the source and expands isothermally at constant temperature T1. See, therefore, it is represented by the curve AB. See here, pressure is P2, volume V2, but temperature T1. See, this expansion is a isothermal expansion. The gas expands isothermally at constant temperature T1. Then, as a result, during isothermal expansion, it pushes the piston upwards. Now, the cylinder is kept on the insulating stand. It is kept on the insulating stand. This is second stage. It is kept here. Already it is pushed out. Initially it was here. It is pushed there. Insulating stand. See, when it is kept on the insulating stand, the base of the cylinder also becomes insulated. Initially, walls are insulated, piston is insulated, but base was conducting here. But once you keep the cylinder on the insulating stand, base of the cylinder also gets insulated. So therefore, no heat enters the system nor leaves the system. Have you got it? No heat enters the system from surroundings nor leaves the system from system to surrounding. But gas uses its internal energy and expands, and this expansion is a adiabatic expansion. When it expands, its temperature decreases. Now its temperature decreased to T2, pressure P3, volume V3, temperature T2. Okay, have you followed? There is a fall in temperature. See, therefore, this is an adiabatic expansion. Adiabatic. Afterwards, now you keep this on the cold reservoir. Gradually compress the gas. At a temperature T1. When you compress this, certain amount of heat, Q2, is rejected to the sink. rejected to the sink. See, therefore, this is isothermal compression. This is isothermal compression. Now the pressure is P4, volume V4, temperature is T2. Temperature remains at T2. And finally, you please kept this on insulating stand. Again, you keep this on insulating stand. Again, you keep this on insulating stand. And compress this further. And compression is continued. The gas is compressed further. So this is the case of adiabatic compression. When there is a adiabatic compression, you know that there is increase in temperature. It is compressed in such a way that the system is being brought back to its original configuration. The system is brought back to its original configuration, completing the cycle. Completing the cycle. So this is called as Carnot cycle, and this is a reversible cycle because the system is brought back to its initial configuration. Have you followed? I just once again explain this. In a Carnot engine, we have hot reservoir, insulating stand, cold reservoir are taken, and we have taken an ideal gas, mu moles of ideal gas or 1 mole of ideal gas enclosed in a cylinder fitted with a smooth frictionless piston which is having insulation, and walls are perfectly non-conducting but base is conducting. The walls of the cylinder are perfectly non-conducting but base is conducting. Now the cylinder is kept on the hot reservoir. As a result, the gas absorbs Q1 quantity of heat at a temperature T1 and expands isothermally at a temperature T1. So this isothermal expansion is represented by the curve AB. This is represented by the curve AB. AB represents isothermal curve. Isothermal expansion. Here temperature remains constant. See, therefore, pressure becomes P2, volume V2, temperature is T1. Later, you just keep this cylinder on the insulating stand. When you kept it on insulating stand, base also got insulated. Now, no heat enters the system nor leaves the system. Gas uses its own internal energy and expands. And this expansion is an adiabatic expansion. Adiabatic expansion. It is represented by the curve BC. See here, since gas uses its internal energy for expansion, its temperature falls. Therefore, temperature becomes T1 to T2, decreases from T1 to T2. Pressure, volume, temperature, all the three quantities will change. In the next stage, keep this cylinder on cold reservoir. Now, compress the gas. Since the gas temperature and sink temperature are same, there is no heat exchange. When you compress the gas, certain quantity of heat Q2 is rejected to the sink. This is isothermal compression. See here there is a change in pressure, volume, but the temperature remains at T2. Finally, keep this cylinder on the insulating stand and compression is continued. Now this is a adiabatic compression. It is compressed in such a way that the system is brought back to its initial configuration. thereby completing the cycle. So this cycle is called as Carnot cycle. So here we can calculate the work done as well as efficiency of Carnot cycle. Suppose if you take this first situation, in the first situation there is a isothermal expansion. Isothermal expansion. See, in isothermal expansion, you know that whatever heat supplied is converted into work done. If I take the amount of heat supplied as Q1, it is converted into work done W1. This is equal to, if I take mu R, mu moles are there. If there are, instead of 1 mole, if I take mu mole, mu into RT1 log of V2 by V1, or you can write ln to the base T. Say this is the work done by the gas. Work done by the gas. In the second stage, there is a adiabatic expansion. Adiabatic expansion. Adiabatic expansion. See, in adiabatic expansion, work done is given by see, this is mu into R T1 minus T2 divided by gamma minus 1. See, this is the work done that we have derived in our previous class. This is the work done for mu moles of gas. Now let us take isothermal compression. When you take isothermal compression, see here Q2 amount of heat is rejected to the sink, rejected to the surroundings. Therefore, heat is being given out by the system. So you know that heat is given out by the system is taken to be negative. And here work done is given by W is equal to W3. See, W3 is given by mu into RT2 log of V4 by V3. Or if you want to put negative sign, say in such a case, say if you want to put negative sign in such a case, we can easily write this this can be written as mu into RT2 log of V3 by V4. We can even mathematically write like that. And finally, we have adiabatic compression. Adiabatic compression. Here, work done W is equal to mu R into this is W4 T1 minus T2 divided by gamma minus 1. Here is work done on the gas, right? So when the work is done on the gas, it is taken to be negative, right? See, these are the 4 different stages of Carnot cycle. So using this equation, you can easily calculate what is the net work done. You can easily calculate what is the net work done. So in this equation, you will be finding that say W2 and W4 are equal in magnitude but having opposite sign, therefore they got cancelled out. Only these two work done will be taken into consideration. So therefore, when you take total work done, net heat is equal to total work done. W is equal to Q1 minus Q2. So you are going to get mu R T1 log V2 by V1 minus Q2 is given by mu R T2 log V3 by V4. You please take out the common R mu R T1 log V2 by V1 minus T2 log V3 by V4. Okay, this is work done. According to equation, efficiency is given by work done to heat absorbed. Now you please simplify this. W is mu R into T1 log V2 by V1 minus T2 log V3 by V4 whole divided by mu R into T1 log V2 by V1. You please simplify this. On simplification, you are going to get eta is equal to mu R got cancelled, T1 got cancelled, therefore this becomes 1 minus T2 by T1 into log of V3 by V4 divided by log of V2 by V1. See, using adiabatic equations, during adiabatic equations in expansion as well as compression, we can prove that V3 by V4 is equal to V2 by V1. We can prove this result. Okay. As a result, this ratio becomes equal to 1. Therefore, finally you are going to get 1 minus T2 by V1. See, this is the expression for adiabatic efficiency of Carnot cycle. See how this can be proved. So you can make use of this relation T into V power gamma minus 1 equals a constant. You please make use of this equation in adiabatic cases. You will get this result. Okay, when you put this, you will get it. So all these derivations are not there in your syllabus. Only for sake of completion, I am explaining all this. So you need to explain the cycle along with the indicator diagram or PV diagram. That's enough. Okay, but you must know how mathematically we can reach this situation. See, even in case of Carnot engine, efficiency cannot be equal to 1 or 100% because T2 cannot be equal to 0 Kelvin. It is very difficult to reach 0 Kelvin. Temperature of the cold reservoir cannot be equal to 0 Kelvin. This tells you that efficiency of even Carnot engine is also less than 1. But of all engines which we have designed so far, the most efficient engine is Carnot engine. See, that's why there is a statement called Carnot's theorem, which says that no heat engine is as efficient as Carnot engine working between same two temperatures of source and sink. Suppose if you take any heat engine which is working between two different temperatures of source and sink, see, their efficiency is always less than efficiency of the Carnot engine. See, that way Carnot engine is taken to be the most ideal engine. Here T1 cannot be equal to infinity. At the same time, T2 cannot be equal to 0 Kelvin. Therefore, Carnot, in case of Carnot engine also, efficiency is always less than 1. They will ask this result. Why Carnot engine is 100, not 100% efficient? The reason is that T2 cannot be equal to 0 Kelvin. You cannot take the temperature of sink to 0 Kelvin. That's why even Carnot engine is not 100% efficient. Have you followed? See, therefore, when you consider two different equations related to heat engine, earlier in heat engine we got this result eta is equal to 1 minus Q2 by Q1, and now we have arrived at 1 minus T2 by T1. See, from this we can conclude that Q2 by Q1 is always equal to T2 by T1. They are equal to each other. So till today we have been putting our efforts in designing more and more efficient engines by minimizing the energy loss due to various dissipative forces. Have you got it? Still it is in progress. Still it is in progress. So we are not able to reach self-acting machine, right? But we are moving towards more and more ideal engine, and thereby improving the mileage, improving the efficiency, and so many factors that automobile industry demands. The research is going on in that direction. So that you must remember. It's a open scope for all of you to think about engine which is more efficient than the present the engines which is in the market. Okay. Finally, say I must tell you something about entropy of the system. We have made use of the term enthalpy, entropy. They are all thermodynamic variables. Enthalpy means it is the total heat content of the system. Whenever there is a thermodynamic process, enthalpy may change, entropy may change. Then what is entropy? Entropy is the degree of disorderness of the system. I can give you one simple example. Suppose if the system, if you have taken matter in a solid state, their molecules are rigidly fixed to their positions. There is no freedom for their movement. We say that the entropy is zero. They are ordered. They are having both positional order. So they are having the positional order as well as orientational order. See, there is no the scope for movement. See, we say that the entropy is practically equal to zero, right? But once there is a change of state from solid to liquid, say there will be little disorderness. We say that there is a change in entropy. Entropy is increasing. When the substance reaches the gaseous state, entropy further increases, and when it reaches plasma state, entropy is maximum. Therefore, when there is a change of state from solid to liquid, liquid to gas, gas to plasma, see, there will be increasing in the entropy. So therefore, it's very difficult to define entropy. However, we can mathematically define entropy change. The change in entropy is given by ds is equal to dq by t. dq by t. So using this equation, we can define what is entropy. Suppose if dq is equal to 0, which implies ds equals also equal to 0. Therefore, S equals a constant. S equals constant. This is entropy. See, therefore, entropy is a physical quantity which remains constant when there is a adiabatic process. dq is equal to 0 only when there is a adiabatic process. Entropy is a physical quantity which remains constant during an ideal reversible process involving an adiabatic process. During an adiabatic process, the entropy of the system remains a constant. Entropy is a physical quantity which remains constant during an adiabatic reversible process. Okay, that is about the understanding of thermodynamics. Okay, so in this chapter we have understood not only the basic concepts like heat and temperature, we have understood how heat energy is converted into other forms of energy, and we also understood the importance of various thermodynamic variables like pressure, volume, temperature, entropy, enthalpy, internal energy, and various other aspects of it. We not only learned the theory related to it, we have even considered the practical applications like heat engine and refrigerator. Okay. In the next class, we shall take up problems related to thermodynamics. Let me stop at this stage, continue in the next class. Thank you.